If you ever think of buying good quality meat at unbeatable price, think Magilac Butchers, your only suitable solution for quality meat for you and your family consumption. Our comprehensive range of meat products include minced meat, beef slices, topside, knuckle, rump steak, silver side, tenderloin, strip loin, and forequarter. We offer consistent value, quality, and service through animals grass-fed and bred especially for their meat. This makes the meat much more tasty, succulent, tender, and easy to cook. All meats at Magilac Butchers are halal, including for the first time in the Gambia, the new Mongolian whole lamb, available only at Magilac Butchers. Rush now and visit Magilac Butchers on Caraba Avenue, opposite the Petrogas petrol station traffic lights. For inquiries and orders, please call 7688-688. That is 7688-688. Magilac Butchers, the home of quality meat and chicken products at unbeatable prices.
When me touch down, better broke down.
Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
That's how she became mine and see that.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria, or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464838. WhatsApp us on 3259220, or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
Agada.
Mbijan aganyani.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Important. Nsila ID soto.
Ah, sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya.
Ah,
mbare. Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Ah, janno mi yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Ha. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolong blabe ko.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Ha. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma nin domorol ni fana beteata. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Ha e wo moyo diat ha.
Apelenta
baraka ba. Ni ma lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanila ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Baraka.
Hello and welcome to the brunch on Kerr Fatou. I'm Lavin Cham, welcoming you back to our weekly panel discussion on major issues of the day. Today I'm with, onto the far right, Madi Jobateh, of course a household name now, prominent political, social, economic and everything activist, particularly of course human rights issues. And just beside him is the Honorable Omar Ceesay, who is the National Assembly member for Nyamina East, if I am right. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, as usual, today too, we are dealing with matters arising from this country situation of the COVID-19 in the Gambia. Last week, of course, and the week before, we've been having experts from the Ministry of Health on their daily statistics. Last night or yesterday there was one, and the good news is we have no new case as far as COVID is concerned. 2 patients have been discharged. So now there is only 1 active COVID patient in the Gambia, and the official said his condition is very much improving. Of course, there are people still quarantined, and if in the next couple of weeks none of them tested positive, then we are hopefully that, and prayerfully, of course, we could say that the Gambia has managed to some degree to contain the spread of the virus. That, of course, doesn't mean that we should relax or sit on our laurels. Okay, because it's part of that we had a heated debate in the National Assembly yesterday as Assembly members debated a motion from the government to extend the public emergency to 90 days. Eventually, we were told, they settled for 45 days. So we're going to discuss all these things plus other matters connected to this. So, gentlemen, this is our focus today. Let me go straight to Madi Jobateh. Madi, we have not had you since the COVID crisis started, and you have been following developments. I want you to comment on both in terms of how prepared the government's handling of the situation from the beginning, in your observation, right down to now, especially, for example, how the borders or the airspace was lately closed, etc., and how we got our first case from a lady who flew in from London, and then another one from Bangladesh, then another one from France, etc., Then we come to what happened at the parliament tomorrow. How have been your reflection since this crisis started in the country?
Thanks. I think for me, what has manifested is, poor leadership in the first place. Okay. I remember 2 weeks to 3 weeks ago, I had engaged a few individual NAMs, and I've also written, and made comments on social media that we needed to close our borders. Because that was the most essential thing, because the reality is the virus could only enter through the borders. And the evidence has shown that it is still coming across the borders. There is no local transmission. And so where Senegal had 21 cases, that's like a month ago. I had thought that was a moment for us to close the borders. So it was very late for the government to get to close the borders, the airport, but even before they closed the airport, I think there was this declaration for us to seek to close schools.
Yes.
And I remember making the comment that what that means is you have your compound, you close the doors of the house. The house is in the compound. Yeah. You close the doors of the house, but leave the gate of the compound open. So people will come in, and I don't know, maybe somebody will jump through the window. Yeah, so the best thing was to close the gate.
That's the border.
Since there is no case in the house yet, close the gate so that nobody gets in, so that those in the house will remain protected, even if they continue to do their normal business. Yeah. So we could have closed the borders very early on without even having to close schools and so on, because they would have prevented anyone from coming in. Yeah, so we started that late, and the evidence of that bad judgment is the first lady that came in with the virus. Exactly. And if you learn from other places like Sierra Leone, it is just this week or last week
they got their case.
They got their first case. Yeah. But Sierra Leone closed their borders like a month ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And because Sierra Leone had Ebola.
Yeah.
And so maybe that is an experience, but that is it. And if you check Europe and the West generally, from Italy to the US, you realize the error was the same. UK, US, when did US start to close the borders? Spain, and even before Italy. Yeah. But you compare them to Germany. Cases in Germany are manageable right now.
Yes.
Yeah, because Germany took a decision earlier.
Much earlier.
Yeah. So these things are about leadership, about our technocrats giving good advice to the politicians to take decisions. So having said that, now the approach is being taken.
Yes.
First of all, I have said very early on that the first declaration of emergency was illegal, and was unconstitutional.
Yes.
So 18 February was supposed to be the first day of state of emergency.
It's in March.
18 March.
Yeah.
Right, 18 March. I went to check the Gazette, and it was like, the week after that, when I got the Gazette, and that's when I noticed, actually, a state of emergency was declared 18 March, in the Gazette.
Yes.
And I remember raising this.
The announcement came 27 March or something.
Yes. So the 27 March announcement referring to the 18 March declaration. That declaration for me is unconstitutional because, and I've argued this with some lawyer friends and even some MPs as well, to say that, look, a state of emergency, when it is declared, it's a proclamation. It is, necessary that it is verbally announced by the head of state.
Yes.
And then gazetted. You cannot rely on the gazette just to gazette it
and then
and say therefore it is announced.
It is announced.
No, because a gazette is not like a newspaper. You go and buy in the supermarket.
It is.
Yes, that's a legal document, and it has other purpose to legalize whatever is happening. So it is necessary anywhere, and that is the norm anywhere in the world. When a state of emergency is declared by the state, the president would verbally, publicly announce it for the hearing of citizens, and then it is gazetted. But to just keep quiet and go and write it somewhere and say it gazetted, and so it is declared, I thought that is hugely inadequate, and for me that is illegal. Then that declaration by the president can only last for 7 days.
Yes.
So that if it is, even if he had declared it, announced it verbally, 18 March, by 24th March, the 7 days would have expired. So you would not have to wait until 26 or 27 to come and tell us, in fact, there was a declaration. All right. And so all of the problem we are having right now, again, goes back to poor leadership, at the level of the presidency. They should have come before this, March 24th to put before the parliament, because the constitution says the president can declare for 7 days. But where the parliament is not in session, that can extend to 21 days. But in our situation, the parliament was in session. It was only sit-ins that were suspended. But session is in place. So the idea of 21 days doesn't exist. They should just have come to the parliament before the 24th to seek a renewal for 21 days or 14 days or 90 days maximum. Now they have taken this decision for 45 days. I think that is too much. We could have gone for a 14-day, at most 21-day state of emergency and under review. But whilst all that is taking place, I don't think still our borders are effectively closed. Just yesterday, I was at a Fatou garage, and the head of the garage, his boys said he went to Senegal yesterday.
How?
The day before. I'm like, but the borders are closed.
How did you get to
Yeah. So, it could if that is true, is it that, like, say, Amdala is not fully closed, or the other border posts, or still people are jumping between villages and so on?
That's
so,
more likely.
Yeah. So it is important that the government bears that in mind to see how do we effectively close. Because, this coronavirus thing, that's a threshold. And if you pass that threshold mark, especially when it gets to local transmission, it will be serious. Because until right now, what is the reality is that we are still in the unknown. The cases that came are very easy to detect because they came through the borders. But there are no testing taking place in our hospitals, for example, in our in the communities.
There's no random
testing. So you don't know. And, it is also now observed that coronavirus, 4/5 of the cases in China, at least as they say, is asymptomatic. That is, you can have it even for 14 days, you are not even aware. Yeah, the signs don't show, the symptoms don't show. So which means where there is no testing,
it's difficult to know.
Yeah, so it means we'll just sit here and have an explosion.
Wow, which is bad.
And then you look at the capacity of our health system.
So now, let me check you this thing. What is the reason behind the minimal number of cases in the Gambia? Is it because there's no testing or adequate testing, or is just because that the thing has not actually reached to a certain level here?
Yeah, it could be both. It could be because there's no widespread universal testing, and so there may be individuals with the virus, even if they are not sick, but they have the virus and they are even transmitting, and we don't know. That could be one, but it could also be we don't have any cases yet, actually, because
if you look at it, until February, or let's say March, let's say February, I mean, even in Senegal and other places in Africa, there wasn't any case. The first cases all came through travelers who came by air particularly. So, assuming that the Gambia government was able to trace all the contacts of these few, who brought into our country, and effectively trace them and quarantine them, perhaps we could say that perhaps we probably might be saved from domestic transfer.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to be an alarmist, and I want to be an optimist to say we don't have any case other than what is reported, and all of those who are traveled inside don't have the virus. And so the fact that we don't have any cases, so one can say there is no local transmission. And I mean, I think as a Gambian, as a human being, I want to say that to feel good, to feel safe.
The case,
yes, and the fact that, of course, if you look at our sub-region and across Africa, infection rates are lower as compared to those countries, and those countries that are very high cases, you can still see in terms of international travels is higher in those countries, and I suppose it is all because of that.
Well, that seems to be the trend.
So which means in our situation right now, much as we recognize that and recognize that we've already closed our borders, I think now the task has to be how to strengthen internal mechanisms. So that if you have a state of emergency like this, some measures you insist on them, but at the same time, testing centers, quarantine centers, masks, testing kits, personal protection equipment for health workers. Yes. So because the government is now getting a lot of resources, I'm surprised in the parliament this week they did not discuss the 500 million where Barrow said is making available, but then the World Bank is giving us 10 million that was approved already.
That's
dollars. The IMF earlier, gave us 47.6 million. I think already about 6 million has been released. So a huge amount of resources.
$26 million.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen businesses against coronavirus raising, up to 10 to 15 million dollars. And then we have this widespread, individual and civil society efforts.
Groups and diaspora people.
Right. So which means the resources available to the government is huge. Because somebody like me may not need a hand sanitizer, hand washing equipment, because I have it at home. So that is minus whatever resources government is going to put there. So maybe the factors now need to be considered.
Public places that cannot be closed, like markets.
Exactly. So one would have imagined these are the issues that would concern the government, but also to address socio-economic needs, food. So how do we make sure, in every region, the government creates a food bank, in the regional capitals, to begin to identify families that would need help, to make announcement families that need help.
Such as Banjul, BCC.
Kerr, and other places. So the municipal council, BCC did very well. And also the Gambia has a social protection project under the Department of Social Welfare.
Yes.
Which has list of identified needy families. Exactly. So all of those are means that help you to address these needs. But at the same time, like in Senegal, you can see Macky announcing a fund to help restaurant owners, weld-up shops, carpentry shops, informal businesses that would be out of business at this time. What kind of bailout can they get? So we need to know this money, and this is why I've also made this point to some NAMs. In fact, I have written some points and shared with some NAMs to say, look, these are the issues we need to discuss in the parliament. What bailout package are we going to create? What measures are you going to create for poor families, for businesses that are going to be affected by this, so that they get the support, so that we don't take all these 500 million and all these tens of thousands of dollars to say we are going for sensitization, we are going to buy sanitizers. I mean, and the whole money goes,
like, for example,
disappear.
We had a good example, a leaked memo from the Minister of Health.
Yeah,
suggested that people have been listed for
allowances. So if you don't mind, like in the Ebola, the Ebola situation in the Gambia, I can tell you during the Ebola crisis, Ebola did not arrive in the Gambia,
but
monies were spent, vehicles, allowances, sensitization. All right. Now we know that same Ebola situation in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea. Millions, in fact, big headlines, missing millions. In Sierra Leone, some survivors of Ebola ended up taking the government to court for those missing millions. So people should not take these things lightly, and particularly our MPs, our NAMs need to not just wait for the government, and that is the unfortunate trend here. Our parliament reacts. They sit and wait for the executive to bring issues, and they deal with it. Our NAMs, the National Assembly, they should change the narrative to realize they are not passengers in this vehicle, they are the drivers. All right? Our NAMs have to realize that they are the drivers. All right? Yeah, they are the drivers. They drive this country. So they cannot just sit there and wait for the government. Well, let's wait. Let them bring emergency bill. Let them. No. You go and tell them, look, bring this. Or you go and create the law yourselves and tell them implement this. Yeah, in a republic, in a country like in America, the executive will bring their budget. They send it to Congress. You know what Congress does? They take that budget and put it aside. They go and develop their own budget. And that budget is what they discuss, and after they are ready, they give it to the executive, implement our budget, because the parliament runs the country. Yeah. So the Barrow said he has $500 million. I would have expected all NAMs would be jumping to say, Barrow, come and tell us this 500 million, where is it from? Where are you going? How are you going to spend this thing? Bring a bill for an act of parliament to approve it. Yes, that is what should be. Yes. Tell us all the monies you've cut down on international travels for public servants. That's saving. How much have you saved? Yeah. Well, the parliament needs to ask, look, our public enterprises, government creates enterprises, businesses. Gamtel, Gamcel, Social Security, GNPC. How much money are you giving, have they generated? Because if I give you business to run, as the owner of that business, I expect profits. Yeah. I expect some dividends. But you look at the entire 2019, I had only Gambia Ports Authority give a dividend of $20 million.
Part of which they said was to build a police station.
So where is the dividend from Gamtel, from NAWEC, from ports, from GNPC, from GCC, from the civil aviation, and so on? Because these are not created for free. That's why they call public enterprises. And enterprise is business.
It's business.
Yeah. So when we get to a point like this, our NAMs need to take charge. Yes, they cannot sit there waiting for the executive. No, they should call the executive or impose on the executive, do this. Because the executive is nothing other than a law enforcer. The president is nothing other than an implementer. But the decision maker, the approving authority,
the people,
the NAMs. They're the ones who approve everything.
Madi, thank you for now. Now, thank God we have a NAM in the house. Honorable Ceesay, first of all, we will come to the last night's proceedings in Parliament, which, as Madi said, ended in you approving 45 days this state of emergency. But let's go back to where Madi started. How, in your view, the Gambia responded to this COVID crisis? For example, he highlighted, and many people said we were late in crossing the borders, and also our ways of containing it is also a little bit below expectation. What was your, how would you reflect
Yes,
that?
thank you very much. I think when actually the issue of this coronavirus started moving from one border to another, or from one geographical area to another, the Gambia government was actually aware, and the whole world, one can say, they were, every government, every responsible and concerned government was actually aware of the case. So the National Assembly, when we heard about this case, the Minister of Health was summoned before Parliament, and so many issues were raised for the minister to respond. And I could remember so vividly asking or recommending to the minister. Then we never registered a single case in this country. I stood firm and recommend to the minister. The number one key thing that we must do now is to have all our borders closed, is to have our international airport closed. This was my first recommendation. Then there was no case registered. Day after, then a case was registered. So could you imagine this? So meaning they were not actually cognizant of the fact that closing our borders can deprive us from all these things, problems that we are experiencing now. Because closing our borders will help us with all this sensitization we are doing. Closing our borders will help us with all this testing that we are doing. Closing our borders will prevent us from all these obstacles that we are dealing with now. But the minister will argue, just like yesterday, the minister will argue that, could you imagine if we immediately close our borders at that material moment? What do you think will happen? Because these are some of the materials that we cannot afford for ourselves, that we cannot manufacture for ourselves, that we cannot produce for ourselves. All that we can do is to import some of this equipment as long as the COVID-19 is concerned. So could you imagine how the minister is thinking? But now in another way, in another dimension, one can also stand and say, well, if suppose we close our borders, we could not, we might not have going for all this.
The kind of tough measures they are calling for.
Yes.
You mean if they had listened to the people, we wouldn't have come to this?
Exactly. So
they would have prevented us.
That's the point I am emphasizing. If suppose we close all our borders, we might not have come into all this. Do you understand? Importing equipment.
Especially Senegal had a case 2 weeks or so with before hours, or 3.
Yes, I could remember relating my statement to Senegal. Then Senegal started registering a number of cases in their country. I told them, look, this is very serious and this is very alarming. Imagine our neighbor country, Senegal, they are actually registering a number of cases day after day. So why do we have to wait until we have this case in this country and we start taking unnecessary steps? This is not actually going to help. So this was my first recommendation.
So the government was late in closing the borders and the airspace. I remember the minister saying, they had a cabinet meeting, emergency meeting, and the minister came out and said they have not reached the decision to close the airspace at the time. They would say they are reviewing, WHO guidelines are also coming. When it gets to that, they will close the border. But by the time they got it, somebody had flown in with the virus to Banjul.
So that's where the problem is. You see, in preparation, you don't have to wait all those things to come in place. The first thing that you have to do, if you know that if this thing comes into your country, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the financial muscle to control it, the first thing that you have to do is to prevent yourself from it. And what will come next. This is the first thing that we should have considered along the line. So when we registered our first case, the president came out there and started making all kind of announcements, all kind of regulations to be imposed on the people. So these are some of the problems. Now, the number one problem that we are also having is the kind of information that we are actually relating to our people. Because the first declaration that was made by the president, the first statement that was given by the president, there was no thorough or proper consultation. Because a declaration was made. The next minute, the government have to come out and say, well, this declaration can only last for 7 days because the National Assembly is not in session. Exactly. So could you see how negligent one can analyze this? Because I will have expect whatever they have to do, there must be that proper consultation. Because the three arms of government, they must work hand in glove. They must consult one another. If suppose this is done.
So I mean, when he made an announcement, people were saying, well, but there was no time frame mentioned in the president's speech. And I mean, a little later, hours later, or perhaps the next morning, we heard that it's in fact going to last for 1 week. So you are saying that if they had consulted the National Assembly, perhaps they would have known the procedures.
Yeah, exactly. I could even remember the speaker narrating this to me when she saw this statement coming out from the president. The honorable speaker has to call the person responsible to tell them that the National Assembly is in session. So obviously we cannot leave this open. So there are timelines.
So that was the time the announcement
that was the very minute. In fact, the very day they have to come up and say this declaration can last for only 7 days. So could you imagine there was no proper consultation? So the message that the government is actually sending to the people is very narrow, it's not substantial, it's not really accurate. Because at the end of the day, you are asking people non-essential businesses to be closed. And again, the same government saying, if you are 100 meters away from the business, from the market, exactly, if you are 100 meters away from the market, then you can open your shop. So you see, when this announcement was made, we have our enforcement agencies start going around to close all non-essential businesses. Could you imagine? They said, no, if you are 100 meters away from the market, then you can open your shop.
That came later. They call it a clarification, but it looks like softening of the measures.
Exactly. So, So what I am just emphasizing is the government, if they are to give any statement to the people, they must better study whatever statement that they have to give before they will start mixing or having that.
In other case, in this few days alone, they came twice to come and either correct or clarify messages on the same topic.
Exactly. So
that is not a good sign of good communication.
No. That is not a good sign of a good leadership, one can say. Because I will expect you with your technician, the legal advisor is there, you have the health expert, you have the economic expert, and all those individuals are there, right on the round table. So I will expect this individual to deal with their technician on every substance or every issue that is before the table.
So
this is what they should have done.
The government is inexperienced then, or perhaps. What do you think? What would you say?
No, I would say there is no proper consultation.
They are incompetent.
Yes, I will break it that way, in fact. Because if suppose this is there, then I will have expect them, all this that they are doing will have not happened. And the other point is, you see, the coronavirus is everyone's business. It does not matter because the coronavirus doesn't know who is the president, who is the minister, who is the National Assembly member, who is an activist.
It's not who you are, but what you do.
Exactly. So here together we can actually join hands together and fight the coronavirus. Together we can utilize our resources to fight the coronavirus. Together we can share our knowledge to fight the coronavirus. So every individual, you have a stake in this.
The president said he's opening his arms to people like you in the opposition to come and help. How he didn't say how you can help. Are you just going to sit there, criticize all his policies, or are you expected to go to the State House and say, I saw President Sall receiving opposition leaders at the palace to share ideas. Have you requested to go to Barrow and tell him this, or did he ever invited you since he speak?
Well, the opposition, I have no intention, or the opposition actually we don't have any intention to assassinate anyone's character. We have
but
no
you have been criticizing his policy.
No, you see, I feel this is part of my responsibility. Telling the people what actually is on the ground is part of my responsibility, and this is exactly what I am doing. You see, the opposition, we are not sitting, we are part of this fight.
I mean, he said he's open up to you. Did you make effort to meet him, or did he to invite him?
You see, we must relate some of these things to what is actually happening in other countries. We never request to meet the president, but the president, in other hands, the one who is leading this fight, we will have expect the president to engage all the opposition leaders.
He said his doors are open.
The doors are open, but did you invite these people?
That's right, that's what I'm saying.
No, you cannot just
He has not yet invited.
He has never invited any opposition party, but that does not deprive us, that does not stop us from doing what we think we can contribute. Because us as opposition, as a party, GDC, the first thing that we do, we have to go and buy all the preventive materials that we think we can have or we can afford and donated them to the government through the Ministry of Health. So this will show you that we were not actually doing this to capture political points. Okay. So, and other political, we have seen UDP doing the same and other political parties doing the same. So obviously, the president, in his statement, he was encouraging political parties or opposition parties to have, to be part of the fight. I want to inform the president that we are part of the fight. If he has any other opinion or if he wants to have dialogue with the opposition parties, we are very open to have him discuss about this.
Okay. Now let's go to yesterday's proceedings. The government wanted you to extend this emergency, which Madi has described, was not even properly communicated, or the cat was put before the horse, or the other way around. But the government wanted you to take this to 90 days. Eventually, we had 45. What exactly happened from the first day when we were told it was brought to the committee? And what did the committee come out? And how was the debate yesterday? What were the contentious issues? And finally, I hear that even the speaker's role performance was not quite respected or quite was criticized. Can you tell us what exactly did the government want?
Well, when the issue was because as I said, when this parliament is in session, then the declaration of the president can last for only 7 days. And before the 7 days will elapse, then the president, if he is actually in for extension, that can only be tabled before parliament for them to extend. And this is actually what we were practicing yesterday. So the 7 days, as we speak, elapsed yesterday midnight. So exactly. So we have to either approve or not to approve.
Come with a decision.
Exactly. We have to come with a decision either to approve or not to approve before 12 midnight. So this is what actually we were doing yesterday. So when the motion was tabled by the Attorney General, so the National Assembly members deemed it fit that this is very critical because it's about life. It's about the livelihood of the people. It's about the interest of the people. It's about how Gambians can actually maintain this if this is to be approved. So we deem it necessary that why not we refer this to a committee? Because there is a standing committee called Human Rights and Constitutional Matters, in which I am a member of. So the motion was given to the committee to better scrutinize the motion. And actually, when the committee sat and discussed about the issue, the Attorney General was there, the Minister of Finance was there, and other experts were also invited to discuss about the motion and the regulations as well. So after having discussed, the committee came up with a lot of recommendations to the plenary. But remember, these recommendations are subject to plenary approval. That is the entire parliament. It does not necessarily mean that whatever
the subcommittee said would be accepted.
Exactly. So people are misconceptualizing this. We have to understand, though the committee recommended, it's just a task force set up to do a particular assignment, and this assignment is subject to the entire House approval. So the House, whatever they deem fit to amend in that recommendation, they can always do so. When the report was before the national plenary, then different interventions, different contributions, different opinions, divergent views rise in the parliament. So you will imagine that the committee recommended for 45 days. This is what the committee actually recommended.
Yes.
Okay, but most of the National Assembly members, others were in for 30 days. People like Honorable Halifa Sallah, people like Honorable Ceesay Jata.
Shorter.
Exactly, shorter. Just to name few.
How many of such voices wanted it to be shorter than 45?
I am part of those individuals.
You wanted even shorter than 45?
Exactly. And I will tell you this, even at the committee level. I will tell you this, even at the committee level. You see, in parliament, it's about majority. Even at the committee level, it's about majority. But to me, I was never in for 45 days, despite I am a member of the committee. And that was never my submission for the 45 days.
But then your committee agreed on 45?
Yes, that's the majority of the committee. That's their agreement.
Now, last night, how was the in terms of comparison, how large or big was the voices for 90 days, particularly the government's initial position? Was anybody, in fact, in line with that?
Well, I will not name names, but
no, I'm not saying them.
Very few among them. In fact, less than 3, I would say. Those who were actually supporting for the 90 days.
So the 90 days that the government wanted was a non-stand.
That was a non-stand. Nobody, in fact, was supporting that. You can count just 1 or 2, less than 3, in fact. So the debate was between either 45 or 30 days. This was actually the debate, and the debate was very dense in terms of these two.
Yeah.
But you will understand that there were so many things that MPs were considering. And the number one key thing that one will consider along the line, if we are to approve either 30 or 45 days, how is this going to affect the livelihood of the people?
Yes.
How will the people have their survival? A woman who is selling, a hawker who is selling, who is surviving from the little that he or she is selling, how do we expect that individual to have a daily meal? This was the concern. So the MPs were really concerned about, is there any package, relief package? Do you understand? Or social support?
So at the end of it, did you ask the government, did the government give any guarantee or assurance that they're going to do that?
That is the problem I have. And that is the most frustrating issue that was actually lingering in my mind.
So
because the Honorable Minister for Finance make it very clear that as we speak, there is no available package.
So that 500
as
million
a social support. And the minister make it very clear in my intervention. In fact, if you follow the social media, I make it very clear to the National Assembly members, because I was privileged to be part of the committee, and I know what actually was discussed at the committee level and what the minister told us. The 500 million in question, you know, this money can be accessed in 5 ways. And when the president can only approve. But the minister now can access this money in 5 ways. One, we can access the money either through loan, we can access the money through grant, we can access the money through what I call contingency fund, that is subject to parliamentary approval. We can access the money through what I call supplementary appropriation bill. That one is also subject to parliament. Do you understand? We can also access the money through what I call reallocation of funds. These are the 5 ways. So now the minister made it very clear yesterday that the 500 million in question is available. What they are doing and how they are accessing this money is through reallocation of funds. Meaning they are tapping from different ministries, different budget items.
Budgets that you people already approve.
Exactly.
They're going to take money from here.
Yeah, that one is actually legal. The Public Finance Act
that's legal.
Empowers the minister to do that.
But they didn't talk about the World Bank and IMF money.
I'm coming there. I'm just taking this gradually. We are talking because the 500 million is the fundamental concern of every individual. Because we believe is the source, is the revenue of this country. So before you talk of something that is coming outside, the first thing you should talk about what you have in your own country.
What you want to do.
So that is environment.
Environment, yes. Right. In other words, economic terms, environment. So meaning, and they are looking this from the budget line of travel expenses. You talk of other items, just like that, just to name few. So this is how they are getting this money. So the rest assured, according to the minister, that the 500 million is already available, according to them. But the 500 million is basically for health. It's basically for the Ministry of Health to utilize on the health aspect. And there is no single percentage or amount that will come out from the 500 million in a form of social support. And this was my concern. And that was my problem for having this 90 days approved or having this 45 days approved.
I see. So
are you getting the point?
Yes.
So the money that is coming from IMF, the money that is coming from World Bank, World Food Program, and all those things, the most important thing that we must do before we rely on the donors, in order to help our people who will be suffering at the end of the day, why can we use the little resources that we have? Because we will not be dictated at the end of the day that if we cannot substitute the money. The 500 million, the little that is spent for now, the balance we can use part of it to support our people in terms of their survival. Then when we receive the money coming from the donors, we can substitute the money. But the minister is not actually ready to do this. Do you understand? So that is the problem I have. So that is why most of the people were not in for the 90 days. Most of the people were not actually in for the 45 days.
So how did you get to approve 45?
Yes, we have to vote. Parliament is about majority.
Okay. Tell us, what was it?
Yes, after the debate, whatever concern, ministers respond, whatever concern, at the end of the day, Now it is the parliamentarians are obliged to either vote whatever period that you wish to.
Exactly.
Do you understand? So here, now the issue is not about the 90 days, as I told you.
Yes, 45.
The voting is about is not about the 90 days. That one is out. Now it's about either 45 days or 30 days.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So here now, the honorable minister will have to put the question. Those that are in support of this 45, let them say yes or no.
Yes.
And if we realize, or if you can detect that the yes have it.
How do you know that? You raise your hand?
No, it's a
yes.
it's a procedure. Like if there is a crowd, of course, you ask people to raise up their voice on a particular issue, you might detect who forms the majority.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Now,
but
who sounded louder?
But again,
who sounded in different place?
But again, if you realize that as a National Assembly member, you can call for a division of votes. Okay, if you are not very sure of the result, those who said yes or no. But after the yes or no, the speaker immediately ruled that yes, the yes have it, or the ayes have it. So for me, I raised a point of order. This was not actually recognized. But I told the honorable speaker that in as much as we want to be transparent in this, we must count the votes, because it's not everyone who is in support of the 45 days. If you get to records, they will tell you this. Yeah.
So in other words, as I've said, Madi, because I read in social media people criticizing the speaker of not actually thoroughly establishing which of the arguments won. She just deliberately, just said the yes won. And people accuse her of wanting the 45 to stand. And he's suggesting that he believed that if the votes were counted, 30 days might have won. Did you watch the proceedings? And from what he had said, what did you think? You were very critical when you analyzing the performance and the role of the National Assembly. Do you think they did a good job last night?
I must say I didn't watch all through it because I was into a lot of other things. And I've seen the criticism against the speaker. So on contentious issues like this, I think it's in the speaker's interest for the dignity, the integrity of her office, of her seat, and of the National Assembly as a whole, to subject this to actual voting. Yes, because as you said, when the speaker announces for or against, and some would say, yes, some would say no, but by the loudness of their voices, you may get to a point you begin to wonder which voice is louder. At the moment you have one slightest doubt.
The provision said you should take the vote.
So the speaker
did not allow that.
Should have taken it to vote so that they can count. But I mean, as I said, I followed the debate, bits and pieces of it. I wouldn't even have gone for 30 days.
Well,
actually, I mean,
you would have gone for 3 weeks or perhaps 2 weeks.
Yes, I would have been. I am between 14 and 21 days.
But what will happen? But looking at all the measures that we ourselves are criticizing the government for not putting in place, if you don't have these measures or a long period of time, you probably will not have an effective way of combating the virus. Of course, the major question issues, of course, arise. What will the people who cannot afford daily bread, what would they do?
Yeah, so this is why the 30 days or 45 days for me is still too long. Because the whole idea of this 90 days, 45 days, 14 days is we just want to track transmission.
Yeah.
Whether the virus is going to, we are going to see another case. And another case. Yeah. So, I mean, that is what we are, why we are talking about this, period. But during that period is where, virus or no virus, people are limited in what they can do. And that limitation is what impacts on our socio-economic well-being. Yeah, so that if we have 14 days, we have no case, we can review and say, okay, can we relax some of the measures? Can we allow now people to go to market, for example? And we check against that. Because also we should be checking against the rest of the world.
Yes. Well, that's what the officials said. They said there are guidelines for all these things. Like, for example, the time everybody was shouting, that we should close the airspace, one of the officers who came here said, actually, you don't jump unilaterally and do things. You look at the trend and, you know, and advice is coming from the WHO particularly. So,
no, I mean, I haven't listened to him. So based on what you are saying, if that's what he said, I think that's untenable. Like we said, Sierra Leone at that time, Sierra Leone closed its borders.
They never listened to the WHO or whatever.
And in fact, WHO never essentially said, don't close your borders. No. I mean, they've advised all of this, that you take measures. So you take, so if a country like Sierra Leone, I mean, having gone through the Ebola, going through that experience, and we were all in that Ebola region at the time, knowing the capacity of your country, knowing what would happen if these cases erupt in your country, you may think, look, let me close my border earlier. You know, the Honorable said something like that, you know, because when you close your border earlier, it will be tough.
You deal with immediate consequences.
All right. But then it becomes even tougher if you are late in closing it. Then you have cases, and then you begin to close it.
You close it with the virus.
Right. And now that is double trouble. Because also when we close borders, I mean, as he was saying with the conversation with the minister, you don't close your borders to goods. That's what it happens. That every country that closes their border, you will still allow goods to come in and out. Basically, you
said food, medicine, and all security.
Basically, when you close your borders, you close it to human traffic. Movement of people. Yes, but then you allow food and medicine, essentials to come in.
You know, because those personnel are already prepared and much easier to get them prepared.
You know, but going back to what the Honorable was saying, the 5 ways we can get this money. And the fifth point he said, or the fourth about environment, is my concern. Because I've had this before.
That is taking money from this sector, from agriculture, from this thing.
I've had this before. Some people say that is what they are going to do. Even some NAMs, when I raise this issue, so there may not be a need for an appropriation bill. Now, I think we need to be very careful there. But environment is not unlimited. That you can via anything, any amount. All right, no. In this particular moment, that environment itself is a matter that the parliament should demand the executive to bring, so they sit with them to check each budget line what is to be vied or not.
Did you do that?
All right.
Just quickly, did you do that?
No. As I said, this is very simple. The ministry is obliged by law to do this environment without subject to parliament.
Oh, really?
Do you understand? Yeah, that is what I am saying. The public finance this is what is saying. But the parliament now, yesterday, we agreed that we are going to set a special committee. Okay, different committees are there, but among these committees, we are going to extract individuals from these various committees, like Committee of Human Rights, Committee of Health, Committee of Tourism.
So they work with the minister.
No, they can demand all these things that he is talking about. How is this environment taking place? From what item is this environment coming from? And how do they intend to spend this money? And all these donors, we make it part of our recommendation that all these monies that are coming from donors must be brought to the National Assembly for us to approve it.
Okay. So what the Honorable said in terms of the law and environment, that is true. But what I'm just saying is the law is not blind to how much you can via. There will always be limitation. Now, and that environment in the law was not in anticipation of a pandemic like this, an emergency. It was only in terms of government's own operations you can do environment. All right, we have exhausted our travel vote, but we have our utility vote. There's some money there, and we still need to go for travel. We take money from there and put it into travel so we can travel. So government continues to operate. But this is not government operations. This is an emergency, national emergency. So in that case, environment in the law was not contemplating an emergency. So because of that emergency, so this is not ordinary environment. This is environment to save the nation, not for the operations of the government. So it's good they have set up this task force he's talking about. But for me, still, this matter is not an environment issue. You see, in the budget, in fact, we have another budget line there called centralized services. It has about $1.4 billion. And some people even preempted, okay, it's from this centralized service, government is going to get this money from. Centralized service is not to address emergencies. No. You see. So the parliament, all I'm saying, the parliament needs to raise its scrutiny level. The oversight needs to be very strict. Because what is going to happen is through that environment, if we let the government do it, as they would have done on normal circumstances for government operations, we can have serious abuse of resources here. And we have to prevent that we don't, at the end of the day, have millions of dollars just go in vain. Right? So that 500 million that they said is only for health. What do you mean? Because if you say sensitization, that is not health. It may be health promotion, but it's not health. I mean, as opposed to, or as compared to, say, procuring.
What they call a committee for emergency committee for procurement and other things.
So, but that procurement now for T-shirts is not health. You can produce T-shirts to put messages, to build posters.
They will count that all as health promotion material.
Right, but I would separate that from procuring testing kits, procuring what they call PPEs. But this is where, Cham, we got to be careful, because you will realize when you look at that 500 million, you can have a larger chunk go to sensitization, radio programs, TV programs, T-shirts, posters, even hand sanitizers, all right, and then fuel, vehicles, then allowances. Half of it can go there, which would, for me, be unjustifiable. So this 500 million needs to be checked by the parliament to make sure it really goes to actual health delivery. Yes, it goes to actual health delivery. How many testing kits are we getting? How many PPEs are we getting? And mind you, already, Jagma Foundation has given the Gambia thousands of those things. So we don't even have to buy them. Unless they say they are not good, because we understand China gave similar materials to Spain.
Or as people are saying, we should not even accept them because they are already.
All right, fine. But they need to check to make sure they are in good order, because we know the experience in Netherlands and Spain that they said they found. So if those things are not good, fine. We know, okay, we still need to get this. But if those materials are good, then it means the 500 million, we have no reason, because Jagma is giving, I think, 20,000 test kits. 20,000 test kits. You can equip each and every health facility, public, private in this country, military hospitals. You can even, create mobile testing kits on major, street corners, markets, and stuff like that.
Is very small, yes.
All right.
That's more than enough.
Yeah.
But then the thing about what you're trying to say is that if you look at environment or whatever you're talking about, and the protocols and the rules that he already outlined, the medical personnel sitting like Modu Njai, who was here before, who wants these things now, this minute. How frustrated, how would they feel waiting for all these parliamentarians and all these ministries to do all these rigorous things? When are they going to get the money or the equipment?
Well, I think that falls on.
Can't there be a way where they can get money?
Cham, the rule of law has to be respected.
I know, but it's an Madi. You already described it as an Madi.
Because even
we have
the
been
law.
About 5 million now for how many days?
But Cham, the law.
For 3 weeks now.
The law.
500 million, Mr. Kerr. What a Butut has been.
That's their fault. That's the fault of the government and the parliament. You see, the law, our constitution, provides
checks and balances in the money.
Provides all the means to address a state of emergency. You see, when you look at the law, the constitution, in fact, in some sense, it is in favor of the state. Because it gives all the powers to the state. So the emergency powers are there.
They did not.
Immediately a viral pandemic, WHO declared something pandemic. When you say pandemic, that is the world.
That's the whole world.
So the moment that was done, a responsible government would immediately jump and utilize all the powers that your constitution gives you.
Particularly if they are, according to the health officials, they had these Ebola emergency committees that were all in place. Perhaps when the Ebola died, they didn't feel any need to get them
So all the powers are there for them to invoke, and immediately WHO declared this a pandemic. That is what strategic, visionary, efficient governments leaders do. So we should have had, just the day after the WHO declared the latest, the president going to parliament, declare state of emergency with minimal measures.
Yes.
So now we've got to this point. Yes, it's an emergency. We need to rush, but we also have to bear in mind that we can rush and bring all these resources, but only to be wasted.
Only to be wasted. That's
yeah,
another thing.
and so to balance this, it needs a lot of critical thinking. Okay. Definitely.
Now let's come to the point, Honorable. There were suggestions that at this point, especially after this emergence, there was one announced, but there was still no involvement or direct instructions to get our armed forces or the security forces to help in these measures. The army said they are ready if they get the instruction from the authorities and if they get PPEs as the protection to save themselves.
Yeah.
Didn't it occur to you, the parliamentarians, or to now request government or to get the army involved? Like I saw municipal council like KMC, they have embarked on spraying the public places in the municipality. Do you still feel, Madi and Honorable, that the army can still be calling, or we haven't reached that level?
In every country or in every situation, the situation will determine what regulations to be taken. And the regulations to be taken also will determine who are those to be involved or who are those to be used in this fight. So these are suggestions, like you're saying, these are suggestions that actually came up in Parliament. I could remember so many individuals raising this, that in as much as the security personnel are out there and they can be part of this fight, they can be used to go and do whatever that they can do within their capacity. Why not we use them? But in as much as I understand, this is not actually the case on the ground, because we believe in the Gambia, as he said, there is no local transmission. All the cases that we confirm in this country, they are imported. So do you understand? So maybe we don't actually get to that level, but the preparedness has to be there. These people, if we really have the intention to use them, they need to be fully prepared. Do you understand? So that at the end of the day, we are not praying to get to that stage. Okay, what is happening in China, in Italy, in Spain, and all those countries, where all individuals, even activists, are going out to do whatever out there. So maybe we are not up to that stage, but we don't have to wait until we get to that stage. We want to prepare these people to go and be part of the fight.
If you are in control, would you have deployed the army now with equipment and to police the borders, for example? When you said people are coming to Senegal, you said you met a mechanic who said he was in Senegal recently, and you wonder how. If the army are policing the borders, perhaps nobody would dare.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with him. We may not have to deploy the army to the borders now. What we need to be doing now is to engage the military, that we are going to dedicate 1,000 men and women, or 2,000 men and women for corona.
Properly equipped.
Yeah. Subject them to necessary training, who are going to be involved in testing and
they
so on.
They already have a medical department.
Right. Yeah. So and what would they require? So to prepare them so that, because still now we have not actually got to a threshold that it is alarming. We have 4 cases.
They said it will peak. It will get worse before it can get better. Everyone said that.
Yeah. So because of that, that's why I'm saying, let us go and say we are identifying 2,000 men and women of the military for corona intervention services. Yeah, I mean operations, and they need training. Provide them necessary training. That 2,000, how many testing kits would they need, or PPEs would they need? Blah blah, and make all of that. Put it in the program, so that at the end of the day, the minute that it is necessary, we are just going to just deploy them. It is not going to be a planning all over again. So this is how, I mean, serious governments behave. You are not caught unawares, and then the moment it gets there, like the state of emergency, you start to fumble, tumbling all over the place, one step the other. So for me, this is what I would suggest that they do. But also, you see, still now, our approach is very health-oriented. And Corona is not only health, it's also social and economic, as the Honorable is saying. Now, what I have seen, like Maki, for example, has called opposition leaders. You raised that, religious leaders. Now, it is not enough for a president to say, my doors are open. And, in practice, put it into practice. So, that is necessary. But also, we should not leave everything in the hands of the Minister of Health. And that is it. Right now, the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Information should have been a central information dissemination point, where every day, the Minister of Information is there, the Health is there, the Defense is there, the Interior is there. Because when you say a state of emergency, there are internal security issues. All right, there are defense issues, there are health issues, there's education issues, because right now schools are closed. There's energy issues. So governments are complaining, look, we have hand sanitizers, washing buckets, no water. We are staying at home, no electricity. Internet is very poor nowadays. Now, you need to have the responsible state officials, ministers and technocrats to come and talk to governments. Okay, in terms of internet, these are the issues, this is what we are doing, after engaging the internet service providers. In terms of education, this is what we are doing. I mean, the Minister of Health Education talk to us.
A good point. Like I was saying, when this transitional justice was happening, everybody was saying, oh, it's only Batambidu who is the minister we see now. The whole machinery of the government should have been seen to be actively engaged in transitional justice. But then only Batambidu was the public figure. In this health crisis, too, see, Dr. Jobateh is the only person. We didn't hear the other ministries, synchronizing their energies as a whole government to fight. I think it's a valid point.
That is the problem that I have. And I do tell people, if my talking, if my sensitization, if me going to the media talking will make the president to come out and talk, I will do so. And I will amplify my voice. Because I have been saying this.
You famously criticized him for not committing his salaries to the endeavor. People said that's too personal. He probably might have done it in privacy and didn't want to jump on the top of trees to announce that, like Mr. Kande will do it. They said Mr. Kande will give a budu to everybody and make a public statement, or at least come and have a photograph opportunity. So maybe the president has done something behind, you didn't know.
I feel so happy if the government at State House can definitely realize this and say Honorable Kande is doing something. I feel so proud about that, because then I will know that definitely these people, they knew very well that Honorable Kande is doing something for the interest of the Gambian people. It does not matter, of course, whether people have to know about it, because this is what I do say. It's not about
for you to rip political.
It's not about political issue now here. You see, the people, I do say, if we are giving help to the people must be aware of it. The people must know the content of that. The people must know how are they going to use that, and the people must take ownership of that. And this is exactly what we are doing in terms of letting the people know what exactly we are doing. So the president, of course, all these other individuals who are doing this, we know about it in other countries. Look at Senegal. You talk of Sadio Mane, you talk of Youssou, you talk of some of their MPs and other individuals. So it's
Gambia, our footballer Omar, OJ, Omar Colley and others have all chipped in.
Good. So can you realize this? That is not in fact the point that I want to emphasize. The issue I'm saying is the information minister should lead the information aspect about the entire situation here. And not only the health minister. We expect the president to come out.
What we know about the information minister is out of town. He had a spouse. That's not well. So he's attending to that. Actually, he's stranded. He's stranded.
Lamin, that is.
And he's attending to his spouse. If he were here, you would have had him. So, but then of course, that doesn't mean that somebody else cannot do it.
Yes, if it were us, that is the case. We are in a modern society. Absolutely. We are in a global society where technology is very high. Where you are sitting in your room, You can do whatever research.
But he's supposed to be looking after his spouse in a hospital.
Yeah, just excuse me. Let me complete
That
this.
the office is there, of course.
Yeah,
Somebody else
let me just complete this. Where the individual is sitting, wheresoever, okay, where the person might found himself, you can always have this communication with the people that are on the ground, and you can always share your views with them, and these people can actually take charge. So we expect the finance minister, this 500 million that is going all around, we expect the minister of finance to come out and let the general public know how do we intend to utilize this money and what actually do we have on the ground as we speak. We expect the trade minister also to come. You know, the basic commodities, non-essential goods. This is the responsibility of the trade minister to come out and clarify. Okay, we have other ministers under their domains.
Government spokesman who really is with a press release, which is supposed to be talking
I have problem with this press. Listen, I have problem. I have problem with this press release. You know, 75% or 85% of the Gambian population are not educated. We cannot only stop at having a press release and have it released just like that. We must translate it into all the local language. It doesn't matter. We expect these individuals, they must be able to speak in one of the local languages.
President Barrow was speaking.
That is just yesterday. Yes, after all this crisis, well, I expect whatever that we have to say. In Senegal, we see when Macky Sall have to speak in French, at the end of the day, he will translate that in a local language. He can speak better. So we understand this. It's because of all these things that is happening from the grassroots.
At least he's doing something.
Yes, I am happy. And I said, if my talking will make the president to come out, then I will amplify my voice to make him come out.
All these days been talking.
So Cham, you see, when you go to the Constitution, where it mentions state of emergency, and the whole concept of state of emergency is when the very life of the country is at risk, is threatened. That's what a state of emergency is. Anytime you hear a declaration of a state of emergency in any country, it means the nation has faced a situation that poses an existential threat to that nation. So a state of emergency is not a joke. Now, we've been saying long time for the president, because when the life of the country is at stake, when the life of your family is at stake, you as a father, you don't sit in the bedroom and watching, you know, your kids and wives and, you know, brothers and sisters running around. You come out and address that, because the very life of your wife and children are at stake. Yes, I mean, if you can put it to that simple analogy, I understand. All right, for long we've been saying, let the president in this moment, you take leadership. This is not primarily a health issue. And that is the mistake the government is making. Yes, it's a health issue. Coronavirus is a health issue. It needs to be addressed. But it is primarily the life of the people. The life of the society that is to kill us. So why the health needs is critical, is indispensable. They are central in this. But this is about information. It's about energy. It's about businesses. It's about transportation. It's about education. It's about, you know, everything. So you don't sit there as a government and say, oh, Minister of Health, go and deal with it. No. In fact, the Minister of Health role is very limited here. Very limited. Yes, it's very limited. The bigger role is me as a citizen now, asked to stay at home for 2 weeks. How am I going to feed myself? Exactly. You know, my children are not going to school. What is going to happen to their education? People have plans.
The ministry says they put up a program that's supposed to come to the media.
Yeah, but that program, you know, we expected the Minister of Education herself to have come, you know, to the people. Exactly. To say that program is going to be run. People have questions.
She's the list known minister.
All right. So this is why a state of emergency requires the entire government, the state machinery, to get up and face their people, because your people are in confusion, they are in fear, they are limited, they are in hunger, they are panicked. So the whole state needs to come and face their people every day.
At least the municipal leaders are doing that.
Yeah. So Barrow. So Barrow said the first time
coming out.
He said the first time he talked was, I think, 18 March, something like that. Yes. Next 27 March, and just yesterday, and yesterday speaking in our local languages. That is it. Yes. Exactly. And I have made that point a long time ago. But Barrow, in a state of emergency like this, we don't need English.
You don't at all.
You know, if we need it, it's the last one. But what we need, Baro, which language do you speak better? Fula,
four,
Mandinka,
yeah,
Jola. Yeah,
four,
whichever language you can. In fact,
Mandinka,
in one address, he doesn't have to speak Mandinka full. Then go and do Wolof. Then go and do Fula. No, in that one speech, mix it up. Say a sentence in Mandinka, emphasize it in Wolof, go into Fula there. I mean, and you get, if you check yesterday's speech, I am sure if one goes around to the public, they would tell you today is when they have felt in love with Barrow.
Barrow, yeah.
Yes, they have felt a connection.
The language they understand.
Yeah, they have felt a connection. Because not just the language he spoke, but the way he delivered it. I'm sure Barrow himself was far more comfortable.
With that, yes.
I understand.
And that's the problem. You don't need to be speaking to
I mean, for God's sake, we are not Englishmen and women here. We are
talk to people in the language they understand. We are not English. That's why I often find it difficult when people criticize people because they cannot speak English or they. It's not necessary. You can speak in Mandinka. Everybody will listen. You speak Wolof, Fula,
and also
you can speak 4 languages fluently.
Yeah,
fluently.
and
that's a good advantage.
Cham more so because true English is our official language. It's our medium of instruction. It's our language of business. So anyone who speaks English, you are required to speak good English because that is what we are all trained. So but that is not the point. The point is we are in a state of emergency. Yeah, because we are in a state of emergency, those formalities are not important. What is important is let me engage my people to assure them, to give them hope, to calm them, to address their issues, their concerns, their fears. And the best way to do that, let me talk to them in the language they understand. Because you are talking about, some old man, old woman in Boraba. I mean, who at that moment needs to hear from the horse's mouth, and that is the president, that is the minister of energy, of education, of health, of finance, of security, defense, of interior. So you go to Ghana right now. I'm sure if you tune Ghana television right now, in the Ministry of Health, it's like the headquarters now. All these ministries are there, so that even if the Minister of Information is not there, we have the spokesperson here. They have the permanent secretary, Minister of Information. They should be sitting there to talk about all of the needs, the issues, the concerns, the fears of the people on a daily basis. And this is what you do in a state of emergency. So it is not merely $500 million declare a state of emergency, once a while do this, but entirely it's about the health. No,
it's not enough.
We are not fair to the Minister of Health.
That is exactly the point, as he is emphasizing at this critical moment. Though in a leadership, we need somebody, of course, who can speak fluent English in terms of business. If you are out there, we need all those things. But at this critical moment, whatever it takes for you to communicate to the people, to the language they can understand, so be it. Absolutely. This is what you want to hear from the president. Though the president is not comfortable speaking English, the president is not. But that is not the problem.
That's secondary affair. Like you said,
exactly.
Okay, he's expected to speak perfect English, but that's he's trying. That's live for another occasion.
Exactly.
But in a situation like this, people need to hear you directly. And more connection is made if they can hear you in the languages they speak. And that's a good comment because Barrow can speak 4 of them very fluently. Very fluently.
Very well.
So,
and that applies to all these ministries. That applies to all these authorities or stakeholders that are involved in this.
Exactly.
You see, this press release.
That's the problem we had, the difference we had with Senegal. Senegal, where they could, they name institutions in Wolof.
Yeah.
You cannot. They even name institutions in Wolof. The parliamentarians speak in Wolof. When the matter is so heated.
Yeah.
So you see, we have to bring ourselves down. That we are from the people. We are not British. Right? So that is commendable.
Your audience will always determine what language you should undertake.
Exactly.
And the audience here, 85% of them cannot speak English. Absolutely. So what is wrong with you speaking Wolof, Mandinka, and Fula?
Absolutely. Because when it gets to the political campaign, you will not speak English to them. You will speak in the language.
So that they can vote for you.
So that they can vote for you.
Why not in this case?
He would not go to Mankamongkunda and say, well, I'm here to get your vote. He would say, Kokarta mi fala. If he gets to Kiang, he said, Nara Lakar de Valena. So, Numuyal, he will say in Sarawale. So, it's the same thing.
Yeah. We are definitely encouraging them to come out. The president, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Trade, all other ministries, all line ministries, let them come out and speak to the people.
Exactly.
This is exactly what we need.
Good.
Yeah. And the spokesperson to just spare us with his
long
and big worded president. Confusing, because like the Honorable said, you said markets are closed. 100 meters from the market, open your shop. The next moment, law enforcement is there to close it. I mean, what is that?
Yeah, I think the second, what they call, it was level clarification. I think it's not just a clarification, it's softening the measures taken, because the initial announcement was for all non-essential shops to close. Whether or not you are 1,000 miles from the market, they were all closed. Now, if you come on to say that, okay, non-essential things that are 100 meters away from the market can close. You are just changing. Look, you are just changing or softening. You can just announce that, okay, we have now relaxed some measures. Because that's basically more or less relaxing. And you know, how do you police that now?
Yeah, even, you see, let me tell you, even with that, we still have seen people 200 meters away from the market, their shops are closed. We are experiencing that. And I emphasized yesterday, even at Parliament, that we must not have the enforcement agency to be harassing our people, to be torturing them, to humiliate them, or do whatsoever that will violate their rights. Like this is a very serious issue, because people are not communicated to the language they can understand. They don't understand the term, and the people who are there to enforce does not actually understand the regulation. That's why we have all this confusion.
I think it's a valid point. The enforcers, people who are enforcing this thing, should also really take the issue of human rights and people's respect in respect. Much as you've been empowered to enforce it, you should really do it. According, the Kenyan police particularly had a very bad reputation.
Kenya and Uganda.
And Uganda, I remember reading a funny post. They said, how to call it, the national situation in Kenya was three cases, one of COVID, 2 of police brutality.
but you see, all of this again comes back to the leadership and the approach. If you had made sure there's a daily, update by the topmost government officials, ministers, and their directors and technocrats, you would have addressed a lot of things that law enforcement may not be required. Because, as the information is going, people also are not, are human beings. They will pick the information, and a lot of people would want to practice it, would want to live by it. So you may not have a lot of these shops being closed, because, at the end of the day, a corner shop is selling food.
Absolutely.
And people have to have food. So if you close a corner shop, you're not just tormenting the shopkeeper, but you are also tormenting the community. I'm in Cambodia.
But corner shops have been exempted since the first announcement.
But then, no, things have been happening. Like, for example, I'll just come into that. When the first statement was done by the president, all of a sudden, anti-crime unit issued a notice to close restaurants. Now, you don't need to close restaurants. You can close restaurants like sitting and eating there. But you can allow...
The first announcement said close. They didn't say how. That's why I said there.
But you realize that the anti-crime unit is not the authority to issue that kind of a notice. That should have been something from the IGP or from the Minister of Interior or so. But this is all the more reason why it was not just enough to make that kind of a notice. Because a notice is just a few sentences. It was necessary for the IGP to be in that national daily update or the Interior to elaborate
or a senior police officer,
the reasons for restaurants to only do takeaway services and so on and so forth. So all of that is necessary. But you don't do that, and then anti-crime unit, which is notorious for abuse of rights, go and issue that kind of a statement. And I saw that I came to learn that even the police eventually wrote to the anti-crime unit to desist from enforcing that notice that they did. But you wonder in the first place, why did they get the audacity to issue that kind of a notice?
Issue because, like I said, in most countries, the police have come under criticism for high-handedness in this kind of operations, where people always fish in troubled waters. We expected the police to be professional,
very well,
and be very balanced in their judgment of things, and so that nobody will come out of this with a very bad experience or their human rights to be violated. So we expect professionalism from the police. Like you said, they too should be part of this daily COVID-19 updates, not just the minister.
Exactly. They should be oriented, they should be updated, and they should be...
People will have confidence.
Exactly. And let me just come back to these essential and non-essential commodities.
Which is difficult to interpret.
And that's where I am exactly coming. You see, the government should be able to define for us what do they exactly mean by essential commodities and non-essential commodities. Because for me, from my understanding, from my perspective, all commodities are essential in as much as that's where you can have your livelihood. To me, that's how I will analyze it. Because the shop that you are asking me to close, an individual there whose interest is to buy the item in my shop in order to maintain his livelihood, that is considered to me as an essential commodity. And the person who is also having there his source of living, that person also considered all those items in his shop as an essential commodity. So the government should be able to give us the list.
The whole objective is to make sure that people don't unnecessarily crowd. You don't have unnecessary crowds near the markets. For example, the people who are selling GSM materials in Serekunda market, up and down, for example, anytime you go there, you find a long queue or perhaps a large number of people there. And they are very close to where people also sell food. I think that's what they meant by that. Those non-essential things, they can, at least in this emergency, they can close their shops. That will reduce congestion in that area to allow people who have come to buy vegetables, to easily do it without being in a huge crowd. I think that was the measure. But it's always difficult to do that because what may be non-essential to you is essential to me. The guy who is selling the GSM too will need the money to go and buy food. Exactly. So if you close his shop, he has a problem. That's what he said, social and economic things. It involves a lot of things. Like you people said, we wouldn't have come to all this if we had acted very
right from the start.
So we have a problem of balancing, striking the balance between these two. And like you said, it's the government responsibility really to give us assurance that people who are hit economically by these measures are really going to be catered for, and we haven't seen that.
Not at all, because the minister make it very clear. You see, during this debate, I was kind of confused. In fact, if you look at what I have to say in that, you will understand that this man is not actually happy with what is exactly happening in this parliament. Because the minister make it very clear, the 500 million, nothing, no single Bluetooth. Yes, as we speak. I don't know whether they will change their mind or not. Again,
there used to be this free distribution of food in terms of things like that. When there are droughts, we used to have free. Government will distribute food to all households. People, of course, people will give credit to Jawara. Some will call it Jawara Mano, Jawara Nyo, and stuff like that. Are we now too much population for us to have a capacity to do that? Or you think so?
Well, certainly our population has increased.
Yes.
But also you find that a large number of families have also gone out of that
poverty line.
Poverty line. Still, of course, majority of Gambians are poor. And this is where it is necessary now for government to consider that. And there has been a number of initiatives by civil society organizations, let's say ActionAid, to provide food
aid and
I mean, we had droughts, crop failure, and there were interventions to give families. So all of those are records, information that are available that can still guide you to see, okay, which regions of the country are usually the hardest hit, but also in the urban area. How do we create a food bank, say at KMC or BCC, to see which families, and there are criteria you can set to know, okay, I'm sure you may not go there to get a bag of rice because you can afford it. I may not go there, but somebody else may go there. And so all of those mechanisms are things that need to be thought about. So you wonder, is that taking place? Because so far, in terms of this corona, you see activity in only one place. That's Ministry of Health. But other than that, you don't see activity anywhere, except education, which is providing these classes on television. But which also needs,
which itself was criticized.
For
not being effective.
Yeah, good initiative. Yeah, but I mean, it needs to be improved. To make sure to cater for many other things, because we don't know how long this thing is going to last.
And they said it's $35 million has been spent on that. How?
Well, so you hear a lot of information about it.
Now, let's concentrate on those measures to end the program. That is sending half of workforce home. How do you see that?
It's very terrible and it's a catastrophe, I would say.
But they still get paid, isn't it?
As I mentioned yesterday, pay them how?
No, I mean, for the government, for example, ministry, like, okay, let's take social security, good example. They've come out to say, okay, if the people who are sent away, over 100, will still be paid. Pensioners will not need to come there. They have identified areas with it, and so many other incentives that they put there. That's what if a government ministry can do now with only half of its personnel. The
payment is not the problem. I am asking you, where is this package coming from? That's my question.
What package? I mean, they will still continue the salaries they are getting.
No, we are not talking about people receiving salary. The most vulnerable. My mother, whose shop is being closed. My father, who's
okay, we have addressed it. I'm now talking about people who are in employment have been sent away to stay at home just to decongest workplaces.
Okay.
Wouldn't there a need in the future for anybody to come up with the idea that perhaps this department is too much overloaded with staff? Perhaps we can do away with something. Wouldn't it lead to redundancies?
Yeah, in our system.
Then you fear that some people, some institutions can use this method to justify redundancies.
Yeah.
That's what the fear of the labor union, for example.
Yeah, you see, in our system, you will observe that in a department, one can say, you have number of individuals doing the same function. This is happening in our country. Yeah. Like, for instance, if I may quote from the office of the president, we have multiple of advisors in that office who are actually might be doing the same work. And these individuals are paid from the taxpayers' money. Why do we have to maintain all these advisors in this office? So these are some of the things that we must consider in order to better utilize the taxpayers' money. So this system will also...
At least in Parliament, you don't have a deputy member of Parliament for Nyani. You can only have one.
Exactly.
Assistant member of Parliament for Nyani.
Exactly.
Madi, what's your take on this?
Well, we don't have deputy members, so yeah. But I think we have to separate things. Well, what you are saying, and what Honorable is saying, that's another matter.
Yeah.
I don't think at this moment any public office. Because of this, would therefore say, look, let me lay off.
Maybe I can do away.
No, I mean that would be that would be disingenuous. No, but the idea of laying off, or asking some staff to stay home, I think it's necessary. It's all part of the effort to prevent, given the mode of transmission of this virus, to prevent transmission. And so, where you have a state of emergency, you are closing down, businesses or restricting movement. Naturally, it means those public offices also, they are also human beings. They also will be restricted. But because of the state of emergency, it will also mean, and people staying home, it will mean the services they will deliver to people will be reduced, because the number of people that are coming there to seek service will be reduced. So if they come there, they practically will be sitting there the whole time doing nothing. So, say Social Security mentioned, because of this, many people are not going out. So, let's say GRA, people go there to pay their taxes. Because of it, they are not going. So if you go there and sit at your counter, you can sit there the whole day without saying anything. So why don't you just stay home? So I think it is necessary that they did this, and and it is happening.
Okay, we're dealing with the specifics on the socio and economic impact of it. We dealt with the subs, we dealt with the workforce. Now let's down to the transport system. Like, drivers these days have been asked to pay half the capacity of their vehicles. That has proven to be quite contentious, difficult to implement. The driver said, well, shouldn't that mean that we should adjust the fares a little bit, or you put the petrol fees down? I had petrol price been reduced, but it's quite insignificant. It's not $2 or $1. $1 something. That's probably the most chaotic arrangement that this emergency really brought about.
Yeah, you see, that one also is another challenge because most of the drivers there are frustrated in terms of the regulation that the government is undertaking. You see, the government does not only stop at reducing the price. Yes, of course, the fuel price by $1. Of course, we applaud them for that, but that is quite very narrow, one can say. And these drivers are asked to at least have half passenger of their vehicles. And again, the government doesn't stop there, but asking them to reduce the price, because if you get the regulation act, yes, the prices are reduced. The fares. So, yes, the prices are reduced. Okay. The fares are reduced, I mean. So that is the most frustrating issues that the drivers are facing now. Okay. So I would have expect if the government cannot come with any form of package in order to either subsidize the fuel of price, the price of fuel, I will have expect them to allow the drivers to maintain their normal fares. As long as they are to have half passengers in their vehicles. But asking them to at least take half passengers of their vehicles and asking them to reduce the price also, that is not helping. And I am telling you this, it is the ordinary people who are suffering. Absolutely. Because the drivers, what they are doing, the techniques that they are using, people coming from Nyamina, I receive so many calls, people from coming from Nyamina to Kombo, they are paying double fares. For instance, if a vehicle is to carry 12 individuals, and they are asking, because the police are posted on the way, they will be monitoring this, and the individual happens to carry 6 individuals, they will be asking these individuals to pay each double fare.
So that they can make up this empty seat.
Of course, they have to, because the distance is the same. You will burn the same fuel.
Kind of fuel.
So these are some of the things that
That's difficult, Madi. What would be your idea?
I think it is to...
I had an experience. Let me tell you how I solved that. I saw somebody going to traffic light from turntable, and I cannot carry them all in my car. I could only take 4 or so. I told them, all right, you know what you're going to do, taxi driver? Take these 3 people. Let each pay $10. I asked him, 7 times 4 is how much? $28. So in your normal, normal circumstances from here to Senegambia is just $28. Now, if they each pay you $10, these 3 people, you have $30. You have $2, $3, or $2 more
added. Yes,
and that's how I solved that. And everybody was happy. But then, if there was somebody who couldn't afford $10, what would happen?
Yeah. So one can say rationally that is a good move. That is, if the taxi driver is going to, rationally adjust his price, not to make profit, but just to avoid loss. So I'll carry half of the passengers, and that distance normally a full capacity would give me $28. So I can adjust this by just to make sure I get at least my $28, even if I don't get extra $1. Okay, but would everyone do that or not?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it appears that has been abused. So people raise the price even higher. So which for me would be unjustifiable under the circumstances, because we are in a state of emergency. So that I don't think taxi drivers therefore should increase their fares. You have an option to carry half of your passengers or stay home as well. Because in any case, a lot of people also are not traveling; they are staying at home. All right. The other alternative would be, which would be my first option actually. Government needs to begin to consider a bailout for those taxis. Now, in what mechanism? Because you can't give bailout blanket. I mean, across the board to every taxi or van, service driver. Because some people can sit at home the entire time thinking that I can go and receive some package. So how do you manage that? That is something else. But also another alternative is how do you deploy public transport?
Exactly.
So we have GTSC. I mean, how do we make sure they go around and maintain the same, just to cater for the lack of transportation or the high cost of transportation. Yeah, but you see, Cham, what this coronavirus should make us think now, and particularly when it is over, to really begin to understand what is national security. Because what we are talking about now is a national security issue. So the national security is not just the security of the state, the security of the president. When a nation faces an emergency of this type, we need to ask ourselves, what capacity do we have to carry ourselves for a considerable time, even without any foreign support? All right. Imagine all countries of the world are in this kind of a crisis. Who is going to support who when everybody is concerned about your head? The survival of your nation. So which is why when you look at this coronavirus and when Ebola erupted, this, and I remember at Tango we had raised these issues. We need to begin to define what is national security, so that transportation is a national security issue. So that when this thing happens and all commercial transport is closed, do we as a state, do we have the capacity to transport our people around? In a matter like this, do we have enough food reserves as a state? All right, which is because we have empowered farmers to produce food that the state at any time should have the capacity to have reserves. What about fuel? If this happens, fuel is not coming anywhere. Is the Gambian state reserving some fuel just to ensure that in times of crisis we can fall back on that? I mean, our hospitals, health delivery, do we make sure that how many ICUs should we have as a minimum to ensure national security? How many ventilators do we need as a minimum? How many doctors do we need as a minimum? I mean, internet supply, electricity supply. So these are all issues that a serious nation, you think about what happens in worst case scenario, so that when we get to a place we are locked down, on our own, we can survive ourselves. So until we have this conversation, we will always be like this, unprepared. And so long as we are unprepared, problem. So this coronavirus should generate now thoughts, ideas, a conversation on national security, which is really about the kind of Gambia we want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Madi Jobateh, Honorable, your parting shots before we move from the studio.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to conclude by saying every individual who is doing whatever that you have at your level in order to be part of the fight, the person should be appreciated and the person should be applauded for that. But maybe pointing finger to one another, it does not really solve the problem.
Well, perhaps that should be said more of you. You've been criticizing the president, whatever the president did. You're saying that we should not blame one another now.
No, you see, if you listen to one of most of my interviews, I do applaud the Minister for Health. And the Minister of Health is directly coming from the government. And obviously, all these things that is coming from the Ministry of Health
is difficult. But you don't hesitate to criticize.
You see, it's the...
Which one do you do most? Criticism and
No, you don't call this, you don't call it that way. You don't call it that way. I am just sharing my thoughts. I am just sharing my thoughts. And I feel that it's just part of my responsibility to do this for people to understand what actually is happening. But I will say, like you were saying, the spokesperson or the advisor of the president saying the GDC, whatever that they did, they will want people to know about it. I will make argument to say, why do we then need to have the president inaugurating a bridge out there, taking millions or hundreds of individuals there? What is that signaling to the people?
Showman.
So these are some of the things that we must consider. But that is not the point. For me, I just feel proud. If people are telling me you are really doing a lot, hence people are seeing it and they really know that this is really making impact to the livelihood of the people. That's the most important thing that I have as long as I am concerned. So, but saying we are showing out this, showing out that, well, fine. But the president is equally doing the same thing.
Exactly.
And that is all to the detriment of the people who are paying tax.
Absolutely.
Asking individuals to gather at one place just to open one bridge. What is that telling us? So it does not really sound well to me. But I don't want to go into all those things.
Yeah.
Everyone should be applauded for whatever little thing that you have done. Do you understand? And no matter what you are doing, people must encourage you to do more. And this is exactly what I am doing. To the president, to the minister, and whosoever. I am just in a kind of encouraging them to come out, to do more, and to better strengthen themselves.
You are challenging and inspiring them to
exactly,
come.
that's it.
And follow the example of the GDC.
Very well. Thank you.
All right, politicians are always politicians. Madi, the Honorable Omar Ceesay is the member of the Opposition Gambia Democratic Congress for Nyamina East. Thank you very much. And Madi Jobateh, of course, whom everybody knows. On behalf of these two gentlemen and our studio operations staff who have actually sanitized continually even these microphones. So we salute them for being strict hygienes when you come to the Fatou net, or rather Fatou, Kerr Fatou or the Brunch studios. For all of them, thank you very much. Until we come back your way again, goodbye.
Thank you.
Yara ñilla domoro ka diatel
boy janno Ceesay restaurant
e say nakko be ni na dimbal nimba domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de teka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo fendin lon dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international o tewoda number 1
amanke ba domola jandama
e sa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nakko sa futandin
e oto sa nakko be mu Ceesay restaurant
dafa nan janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
Ceesay restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
Miss B Designer Outlet is the #1 quality and affordable stop shop for all your needs. Get your evening dresses, suit and ties, office wears for both ladies and gentlemen, beach wears, sport wears, pure leather shoes for men, quality belts, bags, heels for our beautiful ladies, original perfumes, accessories, and a lot more. Find us at Kololini Road opposite Gaddafi Mosque at the Aqua Preacher Station, or call us on 295-3411 or 764-2486. Miss B Designer Outlet. Shop right, look good.
Love like fire. Wow. Love like fire. Xam ngeen rek affaire bi xam ngeen fan la? Skincare la. 2020 lañ wax de. Waaw. Fii nag mooy Kerr fan Kerr zero tache. Perfect skin. Skincare saa su ne rek niñ ko dee defee rek loo lañ soxlaati rek maanaam bu dee am problème ci seen skin yéen xam ngeen fan la fii ngeen di ñëw suma xarit yeeg am di jàmm yi nga xam ne taas daf lañ sonaloon xam nga doon xeesal ba laka xum éneew ma lañ ko nag waaye just in case comme ni ko gars yi defee rek en cas just in case loolu xew xam ngeen fi ngeen di ñëw Skincare Plus si yu baax rek la ñoo dox nag ay baax rek fu ne la ñoo dem ci réew mi di lañ indi rek nag products yu baax du Paris du Italie du USA du fi mu nekk nii sax boole nañ ci nag Sweden fu nekk lañ leen a indilee products bu dee tamit nag da nga ñuul rek ñu lay jamaa natural beauty that melanin dripping we do have stuff for you as well emuñ si skincare products rek ñu ngi ci cuub yi tamit fu ne la ñoo jaar in fact sax last commercial bi ñu defoon waxuñ leen woon ne dañoo dox ci ay kawar 9A grade rek nag waaw we do have bundles as well hair si lu ne la ñoo dox ñun ñu ngi ci rafetal jigéen rek luy taaral jigéen rek waaw boo leen di tukki tamit bëggoon rek classic suitcase ñu dañoo dox ci ay Samsonite duñ dee indi any brand of suitcases though other than Samsonite comme li ma dee wax rek boo eggee airport dëri Samsonite dafa am nuñ laa xoolee waaw ngeen ne lan nag waaw skin ci moom la ñu gën a xamee nag skin care products ci moom la ñu gën a xamee ñu ngi dox tamit bentee tamit si ay dàlla man waaye man nag skin care mooy sama specialty xam nga rek jigéen bu sa xar kanam réglé loo def mu jag am nañ Patricia Reina Kiwi Eye the whole range Lighten Up Gold Tomatine I mean the list can just go on and on and on and on lépp loo xam ne rek luy taaral jigéen la ci yooyu rek la ñoo dox skin care plus nag emuñ si Gambia rek ñu nga United States ñu ngi Gambia fii ba pare bu dee yaa ngi anywhere in Europe mun nañ la ko mail within 3 days rek ñetti fan rek nga jot say diw emuñ si loolu rek dañ laa consult tamit balaa ñu laa jaay diw dinañ def a free consultation pour wax la rek exactly li nga xam ne moo méngoo ak sa kanam dinañ leen wax tamit ne rek am nañ perfumes fragrances men's shirts accessories we do dresses as well we do blouses I mean we do shoes name it we do them Skincare Plus 2020 is our year of perfection zero task fi mu nekk nii réew mi fii kenn waratu fi task kenn waratu fi am problème kanam kenn waratu fi am problème picture boo ko amee dafa fekk ne rek ñëwuloo ci place bi fii